Hey, welcome to a new video. Today we are in Yamanashi-ken, about an hour and a half outside of Tokyo, and we're here to show you guys what goes on at Varis. If you're into JDM cars, you will know what Varis is all about. They are the most famous body kit manufacturer in Japan. They've been in business for so many years, creating these really great accents for pretty much any JDM car over the last 20-25 years. And today they are going to allow me to roam free in their factory, in their facility, so you can kind of understand how their parts are made. And that even stretches right down to the design phase. We're going to be seeing their latest FL5 Civic Type-R bumper, which is actually going to be released at Tokyo Auto Salon in the coming year, in January. So we're going to get a little scoop into that. So without further ado, let's head inside. Okay, so before we head inside, I wanted to show you at least the outside portion of Varis. Starting off with a very special R35 GTR. This is the demo car from Garage Revolver, which has kind of been building and refining this GTR demo car for probably close to 10 years. We'll take a little closer look later on, but it's, you know, pretty much clad in everything that Varis has been kind of refining over the years. And of course that goes right down to this kind of like marble-like forged carbon, as you can see here, pretty much across the entire front end. Bumpers, fender vents, like the Nismo fender vents, the hood, little vents here on the side of the fenders, side step, the roof, the over fenders, and of course that rear spoiler. So we'll be kind of checking out how Varis does their carbon fiber, but also the various types, because you know they do all sorts with the really thin fibers right down to the really thick gauge ones as well. And as you can see, their facility is pretty recognizable from the street with the gray and red colors right across the entire facility. And like I mentioned, it's in the middle of Yamanashi Prefecture in the mountains. And just listen to that. It's so quiet. It's so refreshing, you know, coming to places like this from central Tokyo. It's just a really relaxing day away from all the chaos and the noise. All right, so I think we should probably just head indoors and see if Yahagi-san, the owner, is around. And as soon as you enter here, we're basically in the carbon fiber area where all the molds are taken off the piece and everything is refined and trimmed and cut, and over here polished to a nice finish. But before we get to see the actual finished products like all around us, I think I'm gonna ask Yagi-san to take us around and kind of show us the different steps of how Varis does the work that it does. Hey, sorry to interrupt the video. I just wanted to highlight the fact that dinodc.co, our merch shop, is online. Please check it out, get something on there. We have really cool t-shirts like this one. It really helps us push content from Japan, so your support is really, really appreciated. And one more thing, checking out the analytics to the channel, we've noticed that over 70% of viewers are not subscribed to the channel. I would really, really appreciate if everybody just hit that subscribe button and the notification button. It really, really helps us so much to get more visible on YouTube. Really appreciate your support. With that, let's go back to the content. Okay, so I'm here with Yagi-san, and he's basically going to take me through the entire process, starting with step one, basically how the fibers come in, all the way across to final production, so we see the pieces that are basically finished and ready to ship to customers. じゃあお願いします。ステップ1から教えてください。
まず最初に、材料をカットします。
はい。
まあカーボンだったり、向こうは FRP だったりってありますけど、型にちゃんと合った寸法サイズでカットします。はい。はい。それがまず最初。
わかりました。はい。次は
今ちょうどあそこでレイアップしてるんですけど、
はい。
で次に型にカットしたカーボンを置いて、 成形します。
Okay, so this is step 2, where the cut carbon fiber or FRP, depending on the product that's being made, gets laid up into the mold itself.
これが固まったら、
はい、
次にこうやって製品が抜けてくるんで、
これモールドから
そう外して、
はい、
でそれをトリミングします。
トリミング、
穴を開けたり、はい、バリをカットしたり、これ今やってる、はい、穴を開けた後に、はい、カーボン製品とかこうツヤを出して磨いたりポリッシュ、
So final step, everything gets drilled for fitment or additional accessories like fins, and then polished up to a mirror finish, basically getting the shine out of the resins.
Composite 株式会社バリス代表の矢作です。
今日は本当にありがとうございます。
いや、こちらこそ。
なんかちょっとだけバリスの歴史教えてください。何年前始まったイメージは何作りたいみたい
な。始まったのはもうね、よく覚えてないけど、昭和50年ぐらいですね。はい。で、昔は車のパーツではなくて、釣り船のボートとか。あとは、ゲームセンターのゲームの機械とかね、そういうののこうボックスとか FRP、まあ、そういったものから始まって、徐々に車の部品をやるようになりました。
Alright, so back to step 1 to see it in a little bit more detail. Basically, Varis does create both FRP or carbon fiber or the mix of two together. So we have the two processes here, beginning with the FRP fabric, if you can call it that, being measured and cut to size. Basically all the pieces that you see here prepared are then sent over to the next steps where they get laid onto the molds together with the resin. And in the same way, this is how the carbon fiber side of things are pretty much cut and prepared. And you can see every little piece gets a little piece of masking tape with the actual car type. So we have FL5 and a serial number that will tell you what part it's for and where it belongs. And you can see here the different fibers. We have kind of a smaller one and a thicker gauge one here. I love the look of these. And actually right behind me, being pretty much cut and prepared right here. You can see the gauge of that fiber is super thick. So from the rolls, it gets pulled off, measured, cut, and then refined to size. I love the massive scissors they're using to cut through the fibers. And as you can imagine, the smell in here is pure resin. You can tell that lots of composite parts get created here daily. It's a really cool process to look at and kind of see the artisans that have been doing it for years, laying it down with their fingers, using the stickiness of the backside of the fiber itself to get it to adhere to the mold, and then adding the resin on top. So we're going to continue and check it all out in more detail. Okay, so you can see what I was talking about. All the pre-cut pieces have been laid out. This is actually a bonnet, so it gets a massive single piece across the entirety of the mold. And then the resin is applied with a little brush, and all the air bubbles are pushed out, all done by hand. How it just looks completely saturated in resin. And of course this is a bonnet, a hood, So there are openings and vents that need to be cut out. So we're actually going to see one being cut out right now. You can see how the fabric gets far more softer and pliable once the resin is being absorbed into it. And the transition from the wet part to the part where it hasn't really been saturated yet. So this is all going to get trimmed away. And then of course FRP laid on top of that, because they are actually FRP backed carbon fiber pieces, so not full dry carbon autoclave made. I will have to ask, but I think this is an FL5 hood. There's another hood here with a totally different design. It's got a really aggressive center section, and there are some different pieces being prepared here. This is an over fender, and then over here is where everything gets bagged. Once the resins have been absorbed, it all gets bagged and vacuum sealed, and everything gets cured with heat, and then it's taken once finished to get removed from the mold. So this is the other side of the vent being cut away during the hand layup of the part. We can get a little bit closer to that vacuum sealed section here. This is a front splitter. This is the infusion process being started. You can see the plastic tubes that come away from the bag. These will get plugged into a pump and all the air sucked out of it to allow the resin to infuse properly and all the air to be removed. And right here you can see another mold in process. And the hood I was actually looking at a second ago is being prepared now. It's being hand laid with FRP fabric and pre-soaked obviously into resin. So you can see how they actually start from I guess the venting on the center section of the bonnet. The first layer being placed and cut. So we have the FRP and the carbon fiber. And you can see how with the resin pretty much saturating the entire thickness of the FRP fabric, it kind of becomes transparent. And I will have to find out how many layers they do on the FRP side of things. Okay, so we can see how the main fiber has just been laid. And as I was just told by Yagi-san, basically the thickness of the wire, the thickness of the actual sheet is dependent on where it gets used. So there are different thicknesses for different areas, and of course they get laid up with different types of fabrics, including carbon fiber. So for example, where the mounts of the bonnet actually get fitted to, it has a thicker thickness obviously for extra reinforcement, so that it can take all the weight of the hinges and the bonnet itself. And you can see here another example. This is actually for a JZ880 Supra, so this is gonna get prepped next. So once the fiber is being laid, it's over to brushing on the resin, and it's done with a little roller brush, pretty much similar to what you would use in your own house for painting walls. So you basically have to make sure you saturate the entire surface of the FRP fabric here. Make sure that construction is up to the standards that Varis is known for. So here is another section where basically once the piece is being left to set, it's ready to be removed. So you can see it's all dried up. The two mold sections are being separated from each other, and this is the resulting carbon fiber piece. That gets pulled away from the mold, and as you can see here, there's a massive GT wing here that has been removed. It needs to be trimmed along these edges, and of course it's a two skinned piece. This is all carbon infusion, two piece. So you have the underside here, and then on the other side, as I just showed you, is the top side of the wings that get glued together. So this is the outside of the mold getting cleaned up, ready to be reused. You can see how the dried up resin has to be scraped away, and of course the molds themselves are made out of FRP, extremely thick and able to be used multiple times. You can see a little tray here of carbon fiber trimmings that will be used in the creation of parts. You can see some diffuser fins here, for example. So pretty cool to see how it all comes together. So back to the carbon fiber hood. So you can see they're using a spatula to remove the excess resin that is not needed. So they basically just scrape it off, make sure that it's as free as possible from air bubbles. So on the second bonnet we are looking at, it's actually a GR 86 hood. The second layer of FRP is being added now. So the actual FRP layup takes about an hour compared to the carbon fiber one. This is a JZA 80 Supra one that's being laid up. This actually takes 2 hours to be done in carbon fiber, so there's a bit more time needed, double the time actually, to make sure that the carbon fiber is laid out properly. Alright, so at the actual bottom of the facility here is this room, which pretty much as soon as you go inside you'll notice that it's considerably warmer than the rest of the factory over here, and that's because once the parts are removed from the molds, they're left in here for about a day to dry up, make sure everything is as dry as possible. We have a WRX Impreza hood here, so I've been shown that it's basically the front section. It's going to have an inner section that gets molded up against it, and like we were looking at the JZA 80 Supra hood, it's a layer of carbon fiber and then a layer of FRP on the backside, creating that wet carbon fiber finish. The cool thing is the JZA 80 Supra inner part of the hood is actually being created already. You can see it right here, FRP with some additional structure being laid up in carbon fiber. So here is the entire look at the factory and the production line. So basically 4 people pretty much working constantly creating the layup of the parts. We're lucky that we got to see 2 hoods being worked on today, the GR 86 and the JZA 80 Supra, which are really big pieces and I think quite interesting to see compared to smaller parts. So this is the second layer of FRP that is being pretty much completely saturated with resin, and then some trimmings are added across it to create the rest of the structure. You can see a triangle here that's added to the corner, and all done by hand. And of course, working with resins is one hell of a messy job, very sticky. So I've just been told that because I'm actually wearing a t-shirt, I might get a little itchy tonight because of all the FRP fibers flying up in the air. Not good, so I'm gonna try to finish up as quickly as possible. So before we actually go into the next room where all the parts are taken away from the molds and then trimmed, drilled and polished, there's one little space behind us that we've been given the okay to show you guys, and it's really, really special. So let's head inside here. This is where Varis has always designed every single body kit that has ever been made by the company on this special rig that they've created. And what we have here is actually their current FL5 demo car. We've seen this car at events like the Raise, Fan Festa, and a bunch of other ones like the Option event in Yokohama a couple of months ago. This car is actually being used to design and create their next bumper for the FL5, and it's basically recreating what they've designed for the Super Taikyu series. Their bumper actually gets used in the race series, and they, I guess, had a lot of requests to kind of bring that look to their street parts. So as you can see here, this is how things get designed here. It's all laid up with clay and hand shaped on one side, and then the other half gets traced on top. So this is actually the beginning of the design phase. The FL5 bumper gets first done pen and paper. Arigatou gozaimasu. So we actually get to see how it all started. So there's some various phases. First done with pen and paper, and then created in CGI. Okay, so if you're wondering why there's a picture of a Mustang GTD, is because they use this car as inspiration around the front bumper section to create the design or the second phase of the FL5 bumper. But pretty cool to see the process going from pen and paper over to CGI, and then where it all started from inspiration-wise. So like I mentioned, everything is done in clay, and they basically just focus on doing one half, and because it's completely symmetrical when it comes to obviously the bumper, it just gets replicated once that side is finished. So they're still finalizing the edge of the front splitter here. As you can see, this has yet to be done. They've kind of created the protrusion, I guess, of the bumper section and all the venting. I can't wait to see what this will look like at the Tokyo Auto Salon in January, which is only a couple of months away. So a little bit more work to be done here to finish it all off.
まあ今すごく人気のある FL5 Civic Type-R で、まあオートサロンに向けて発表しますけど、来シーズンのスーパー耐久レースで、ホンダ技研のチームさんの車に装着されるフロントバンパーの今開発やってます。
来月じゃないです。1月の東京都市の何台車今準備します。バリスいつもなんかすごい
いっぱいだよね。今年は8台です。
8台。はい。S2000 も
出る。S2000 が一応2台予定してます。
ワイドも。
そう両方ともワイドなんだけど、ちょっとワイドのバージョンとスーパーワイドバージョンと2タイプ。まあスタンダードはバリスが使っているのは 3K のあやおりっていうタイプのカーボンですけど、まあオートサロンの一番中心のメインの車には最近 12K っていう、そうね、今はもう量産向けの部品の開発っていう形でやってますけど、いずれはこうワンオフ的なね、お客さんのニーズに一人一人応えられるようなそういったパーツ作りをしていきたいなと思ってます。
Alright, so this is the trimming area. These are old parts that are being removed from the mold, and basically they get kind of like refined, right? So basically when it comes out of the mold, there's still the excess that needs to be cut away. All the holes for the mounting parts need to be added, brackets and so on. Or, you know, if we're talking about diffusers, maybe there's some fins that need to be positioned in place there, so holes need to be drilled. And then before everything is packaged away and sent to the customer, it gets all polished up. So you can actually see it right behind us here, the final step, the polishing. As you can see, there's different polishers. One is like a wool pad, one is a more conventional kind of like terry cloth backing plate to kind of get all the scratches and the hairline defects to kind of disappear. There's different compounds used as well, and you can see all the tools of the trade here that are needed to create that super shiny finish. So one other example of the finishes that Varis has is of course the matte carbon fiber. This is the new gen RZ34 Fair Lady hood that they've created, and it has that matte finish, which I actually love so much. And you can see on the profiles of wings, you can actually kind of appreciate the things that need to be added here to get the things to actually bolt in place. You have a threaded part that of course needs to be pressed in there to get it all to bolt up to the wing itself, and it stays. So this is basically the trimming area where things get cut away. And right in front of me, there's this massive extractor here with water that takes away all the powder from the FRP and carbon. See all the bits that get trimmed away. This is where you can pick up bits and pieces of the carbon fiber. This will actually be sick to do like keychains with or whatever, like little pieces for RC cars. It's a bit of a pity that you have to throw these away. You can see all the pieces that are waiting to be mated to their other halves, and this station is exactly where that happens. You can see how this particular hood has already been mated to its underside. So if you're wondering how the grills are held up around the venting on the hoods, it's through these little brackets that are actually bonded to the carbon fiber. In this case, it gets sealed away like this, and of course it ends up looking like this once the grill itself is added. And of course every Varis part gets a special metal plate to guarantee that it's the real deal, and all are marked with a serial number. And it's crazy how many parts they're working on, including some trunks, lots of lip spoilers and wings, and of course the trim pieces and additional canards, wing stays, vents for hoods. Pretty wild how it all comes together. So, and outside here are the finished parts. So the reason they're waiting outside here is because they're actually going to be shipped to a local body shop that Varis uses. That's where they get clear coated or matte coated, depending on the actual finish that's been ordered. Once they're back here, they get boxed, and that happens over there. And just like the story I did on Speed Hunters on Varis, probably a decade back, I always like seeing how, you know, they keep their molds. So that all the products that they've done ever since the beginning, so probably back here, look at this one for example. This is for an E30 M3. How sick is that? So the molds are kept, so if orders come in, they can go right back to production, and that goes right back into this kind of like closed off area here at the back of the workshop. Everything gets kept, so you can put your orders in no matter what vintage of car you have. Just look at this. This is absolutely sick. Found one for an Evo 10 Niigata Civic Type-R. Another Evo 10 RX-8 M4 even. And so we move to the very final phase. This is where the actual packaging happens. So this is where your ordered goods are nicely stored away in their boxes with all the material needed to protect them during travel and transportation. And of course, as you can imagine, when you start shipping things like skirts and bumpers and hoods, the boxes get enormous, much like the shipping costs. Right, what we're gonna do now is head over to the little warehouse that they have and take a look inside at what cars they're hiding away. All right, so we are now walking towards the warehouse where Varis keeps all their current demo cars that they're working on. So we'll see some new stuff and hopefully some older stuff, maybe stuff that I actually ended up shooting when I first came here to shoot for Speed Hunters probably like 10 years ago. So it's a short walk away down this very quiet countryside road. All right, so we are in the warehouse where it's literally brimmed full of future demo cars that we will be seeing at the upcoming Tokyo Auto Salon. This one actually be there. This is a GR 86. This S2000, which looks like in a bit of a state right now. The reason it's missing its front wings and bumper is because Varis is actually creating one of their widest kits ever for the S2000. So I think it's gonna be pretty much one of the center attractions at their booth in January. And as you can tell, the design of the rear over fenders is gonna be pretty angular. Gonna come up really high, kind of on the belt line of the car, and then kind of taper off towards the bumper, sitting on some Yokohama Advan racing wheels, some RS3s, round use brakes at the front. And then over here we have the very latest iteration of the GR Yaris. They just got this in a couple of days ago. So what makes this a little bit different is that dash design. It's really peculiar. It looks like it's kind of like replicating the design of like modern day BMWs, where they have the driver side screen kind of like progressing into the navigation screen on the side, but it's actually all plastic. And you do get the digital displays, but they're separate. Currently missing some parts because it will get their new aero hood, lip spoiler, and over fender treatment. It's currently sitting on TE37s. Side skirts are also being made, as well as a rear bumper, and of course the wing. Staying in the Toyota GR family is their Corolla demo car, another Tokyo Auto Salon debut, which will show off their carbon fiber lip spoiler, as well as some other bits and pieces like carbon skirts. Back here, one of their A90 Supras, their older GR Yaris, and the second S2000 that is actually going to be at Tokyo Auto Salon again. So basically they will have two S2000s. the super wide one, and then a more kind of relaxed street version approach. So they still have kind of like skirts and lip spoilers and kind of like carbon fiber details that make it look super cool, but not as aggressive as the full wide body one. All right, so as we go to the right side of the warehouse here, we have the Fair Lady Z corner. We have the Armitrix new gen Fair Lady Z here with their exhaust system. As you can tell, it already has some carbon fiber additions like a lower diffuser section, carbon fiber spoiler, some interesting wheels here with the Varis logo. I didn't even know they made wheels. Interesting. And it's, oh wow, look at the design of this fender. Kind of replicating Nismo Z-Tune R34. Currently missing a hood. That's something that's being finalized right now, but pretty sick to be seeing. And right in front of that is the Nismo Z34, the previous generation Z. As you can tell, it's fitted with Varis over fenders, lots of carbon fiber goodies. All right, so we've positioned the two cars in front of the Varis building here. This is the epitome of the Varis shot with, of course, the background highlighting the Revolver R35. And over here we have another FL5. This is actually going to be alongside the red car we saw inside at Tokyo Auto Salon. This is actually going to show off the current lineup of Varis parts for the FL5. Starting off with that carbon fiber front lip spoiler, the hood, which has been really painted in a cool way to kind of highlight the carbon fiber construction and have it basically shown on the center section. We have the skirts that kind of kick up towards the rear wheel arch, and of course the hatch mounted rear spoiler, and the same finishes that we saw on the red car around that rear reflector and underneath, kind of giving a bit of a vortex generator type of look. And the cool thing is this car runs Blitz exhaust systems. Of course, the FL5 has 3 outlets, and they've kept them on this aftermarket system, finishing it up with a carbon fiber sleeve. Cool looking thing, sitting again on Yokohama wheels, some nice RZ FD2s, allowing those Brembo calipers to shine through. This thing just looks absolutely ridiculously low, just dumped on the bags, all air left out. Just look how much of the actual rear wheel and tire combo disappears into the fender well. So this actually has the forged carbon on the wing and pretty much every other part added to the car. We didn't get to see these being made today, but basically they are not sheets. These are actual fibers that get thrown into a press and pressed together right across the front of the car here, the Nismo-like venting. Now the cool thing about this car, being a show car, is that the door has been rear hinged for extra added effect. Pretty crazy transformation here. You can see it features some crazy stereo system, being a show car of course. Lots of carbon fiber on the inside too, and even a Haltech display up there. Pretty cool. It is a show car, but they definitely have gone for a bit of a race car look. Let's check out the steering wheel with all the color-coded buttons. And the thing that surprises me the most is just how smoothly it just closes. Now that is a well-executed conversion.